everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be looking at some really interesting ideas from this book called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Reality. It's all about the power of, affirmative thinking. The author is this guy, WaXhira. He founded something called the Sacred Atlantean Brotherhood.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, pretty out there, right? But we're going to dive deep into his philosophy and see if maybe, just maybe, our thoughts really are shaping our world, like almost like magic, but, with some kind of logic behind it.
Yeah, and one of the things that really stood out to me right away was how WaXhira redefines negativity. It's not like this big evil force lurking around. It's more like, well, the absence of something positive.
So instead of fighting darkness, we should just turn on more lights.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And he uses this really great analogy of a candle. So the candle itself, that's like a positive cause. And the light it makes, that's the positive effects.
Gotcha.
But then think about darkness. It's not a thing itself. It's just what happens when you take the candle away. There's no light.
Okay, so applying that to our thoughts, are we saying negative thoughts aren't these monsters in our heads, but more like, I don't know, empty spaces where good things could be?
You got it. And WaXhira, he goes even further. He says that our thoughts are the root cause of, well, pretty much everything that happens in our lives. Like, if positive thoughts are the candles, they're basically lighting up our reality with good stuff.
Huh.
But when we let those negative thoughts take over, it's like we're leaving these empty spots where, the good stuff could have been.
Wait, so you're telling me if I sit here thinking about failing a test, I'm actually making it more likely to happen? That seems kind of harsh.
Oh, no. It's not quite like that. It's more like your thoughts create this energy, this vibration, and you're sending it out into the world.
Mm-hmm.
And WaXhira believes that vibration, it influences what you experience. So if you're constantly thinking about failing, you're kind of putting energy into that outcome.
Right.
Which, that could affect how you prepare, how confident you feel, stuff like that.
Right.
So it's not like the universe is punishing me for thinking bad thoughts.
No.
It's more like my mindset, it's affecting how I act, and then that changes the results.
Exactly. And here's the really exciting part. WaXhira says we can actually shift our reality by changing our thinking. He has these, practical steps to do it.
All right, I'm all ears. Tell me how to turn on the light.
Well, the first step is, awareness. You got to pay attention to what you're thinking. Are your thoughts focusing on what you want, or are they all about what you're afraid of?
So, take a step back from my thoughts, observe them without, freaking out about them.
Yeah. And once you start to see those negative patterns, then you can start to, challenge them. That's where affirmations come in. You take those negative thoughts and replace them with positive statements.
So instead of thinking I'm not good enough, I should try saying I am capable and deserving, like WaXhira says in the book.
Yeah. Exactly. But it's not just about repeating any old positive phrase. You got to find affirmations that really click with you, that speak to the specific negative stuff you want to work on.
Makes sense. That way they feel more real, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
But is it really as simple as saying these affirmations a few times and boom, my life is perfect? Really?
No, not quite. Remember that candle analogy? Just like one candle can't light up a whole room, a couple of affirmations aren't going to instantly change everything. It takes consistency. You got to make it a habit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't know, working out a muscle, but for your mind.
So it's more about rewiring, I guess, how my brain thinks over time. Okay, that makes more sense. But it also sounds like a lot of work.
It does take effort, yeah. But the book says the payoff is worth it. And that's something we'll talk more about after a quick break. We'll look at some of the real-life challenges of putting this stuff into practice and how to deal with them. Stay tuned.
All right, so we've talked about how our thoughts can, shape our reality, and we can actually shift those thoughts using awareness and affirmations and all that. But let's be honest, most of us, we have a ton of thoughts running through our heads all the time, and a lot of them, well, they're not exactly positive. How do we actually make this work in our, crazy busy lives?
Yeah, that's a really common challenge. It's not about shutting down those negative thoughts completely. That's kind of like trying to dam a river. It's just going to build up and eventually explode. WaXhira, he says it's more about shifting our focus, gently guiding our attention towards the positive instead.
Okay, that sounds a little less stressful than trying to, control every single thought in my head.
Right.
But how do we do that? Where do we even start?
Well, remember that first step, awareness. It's about just noticing those negative thought patterns without, beating yourself up about it.
Okay.
It's almost like you're a curious observer, like a scientist checking out a new species or something.
Yeah. So instead of getting sucked into all the negativity, we're just acknowledging that it's there.
Exactly. And once you kind of see those negative thoughts that keep popping up, you can start asking yourself some questions.
Like what?
Well, like, is this thought even true? Is it helping me?
Yeah.
Or is it just some old habit, some story I've been telling myself forever?
I like that. So instead of assuming those negative thoughts are the truth, we're actually questioning them.
Yeah.
But okay, what happens after we question them? How do we actually replace them with something better, something positive?
Well, that's where the affirmations come in. But remember, it's not about pretending everything is perfect, just slapping on a fake smile.
Right.
It's about making a choice to focus on what you do want, on the
Yeah.
good stuff, on your strengths, and all the things you have going for you.
So if someone's always worried about not being good enough, they could try saying, I am capable and deserving, like we talked about earlier.
Exactly. And the book really stresses making those affirmations personal, making them your own.
Mm.
Use words that feel right for you. Don't be afraid to play around with it and see what clicks.
This is starting to sound like it's more than just, positive self-talk. It's almost like building a whole new reality in your mind.
That's a great way to put it. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. It's like, well, you're building new pathways in your brain, and that takes time and practice. But the more you choose to focus on the positive,
Mhm.
well, your brain kind of starts to go there automatically.
Okay, I'm getting this. But I gotta ask, what about when, like, really bad stuff happens? You lose your job or get sick, something serious. Are we supposed to just ignore it and pretend everything's fine?
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
This isn't about denying your feelings or pretending bad things don't exist. It's not about, toxic positivity or anything like that. It's about recognizing those tough situations, letting yourself feel whatever you're feeling,
Right.
and then choosing to focus on what you can control, your thoughts and how you respond.
So it's not about pretending the bad stuff isn't happening. It's about how we choose to react to it.
Exactly. And that's where the real power is. We can't always control what happens to us, but we can choose how we think about it and how we deal with it.
This is really making me think. It's like instead of being a victim of my circumstances, I can actually choose how I experience them.
That's a really powerful way to think about it. And it leads us to this really interesting question. Is there, like, actual scientific evidence that our thoughts can change things? Because it sounds, I don't know, kind of too good to be true.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm a little skeptical too. I love a good self-help book, but I also want to see, like, some proof.
I get it. And you know what? There's actually more and more research that says our thoughts and beliefs can have a huge impact on our physical health and well-being.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And that's what we're going to dive into in the final part of our deep dive. So stay tuned. Okay, so welcome back. We're getting into the final part of our deep dive on WaXhira's ideas. Right before the break, we were talking about, well, how our thoughts maybe do more than just make us feel good. Maybe they actually impact how healthy we are. And I gotta say, I'm still kind of on the fence about it. Like, is there any real science behind this? Yeah, I get it. It does sound a little far out, right? Like mind over matter almost.
Hmm.
But there's actually a lot of research now, and it's showing that what we think and believe can affect our bodies.
Really? So we're talking like actual physical changes, not just feeling a little more optimistic?
Exactly. Think about the placebo effect. Like, there are studies where people get better just because they think they're getting treatment, even if it's a sugar pill.
Wow, so just believing it's real can actually make a difference.
It's pretty amazing. It shows you how powerful our minds are, you know? And there's even evidence that positive thinking can, like, boost your immune system, lower your blood pressure, reduce stress hormones, all that stuff. So it's not just some feel-good philosophy. There's some real science backing it up.
Yeah. So our thoughts can literally make us healthier.
Well, the connection between our mind and body is way stronger than we used to think, that's for sure. Our thoughts, beliefs, emotions, it all plays a role in our physical health.
Okay, but if our thoughts are so powerful, why do we get stuck in those negative loops all the time? If we can do such amazing things with our minds, why do we spend so much time worrying and doubting and all that?
Well, you got to remember, our brains are kind of wired to focus on threats. It's a survival thing. From way back when, back in the caveman days, paying attention to the bad stuff like that saber-toothed tiger hiding in the bushes, that's what kept our ancestors alive.
So we're basically programmed to focus on the negative, like it's our default setting.
In a way, yeah.
Hmm.
But the good news is our brains are super adaptable. They can change and learn. It's called neuroplasticity. So we can actually choose to focus on the good stuff on purpose and create healthier ways of thinking. It's like building up a mental muscle.
That's good to know. So we're not stuck with whatever negative baggage we've picked up along the way.
Right. we can change our minds.
Yeah.
And when we do that, well, we might actually be changing our reality too. It goes back to that idea of the universe being a mirror, you know? If we're always putting out negativity and fear, that's what we're going to see more of in our lives.
Yeah.
But if we can shift our focus, think about what we want to create, that's what we'll start experiencing.
That's really powerful. This whole deep dive has given me a lot to think about. Like, if the universe really is a mirror, what are my thoughts reflecting back at me right now? Am I, like, shining my light with all these positive, affirmative thoughts? Or am I letting negativity dim my light? Something to think about, isn't it?
It really is. It's a journey, you know,
Hmm.
a process of figuring yourself out and growing.
And that's what makes it exciting. We have this incredible power inside us to shape our experience, and it all starts with how we think. So keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep those mental candles burning bright. Until next time, stay curious.